but it's got to be the right people. Because some people, they'll say what we want to hear just so they can get where they've been trying to go.
Cancel school board.
Folks in the 36th district right now, candidates that make balance and will recently asked our supporting Roderick.
Call now. Connected 870-246-2611. That's 870-246-2611. Call, click, or come by. MitchellFuneralServices.com.
And but he is the better candidate after examining all the other candidates. And so some are saying, hey, we served together in the Black Caucus, and, you should have been supporting me, and blah, blah, blah. But look, you supported Asa Hutchinson.
You supported Asa Hutchinson.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to open the public and support Asa, black man in the Democratic Party. Now you won't get
what
support.
Roger Taylor did, Roger Taylor opened the eyes to everybody. Before he did what he was doing, they was doing them no-knock warrants when nobody saying nothing.
And I was slow to
Views
support
expressed
him
today
in
on
political
Black
office.
Focus
I
Radio
supported
are
him in all
not the
the
views and
yeah.
opinions of the
But I was
station,
slow to
its
support
management, or its
political
advertisers.
office.
Now,
I know
let's
that
get
it's
ready to
concerned
focus
they
on
might
our
learn and
issues,
listen.
our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
He's young, he's impressionable.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices. Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-56. So here's your host.
But I'm still talking to them because man, you need to do a connection between you and the streets.
Yo, what's happening? It's called Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. The number is 855-525-5683. That's how you get in touch with me if you want to call the show. We really would like for you to call. Don't be afraid, okay? No one bites here. Cliff May is in the house with me. Robert Webb is on the way.
Yeah.
We got a few other characters in the house. Looks like Rizal is hanging around as well.
It's All-Star Day.
It's, wow. I mean, y'all could have brought lunch. Come on, man. It's 12 o'clock. Y'all going to invade my show. Feed the black man.
We got a black pizza shop around
You know what I'm saying? So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, of course. And, man, I tell you what, a couple of things that stick out today. Of course, 1945, August 6th, was the first day that, one of many days that white people bombed a foreign entity. And that was when they dropped a bomb on Hiroshima. 1945, August 6th. Just remember that. It's weird why they never dropped a bomb on Germany. Could it be that those people look like Americans? I don't know. I'm just saying. Also, got news this morning that Toni Morrison has passed away, the great writer and poet, author, poet, speaker. We're going to play a little bit from her in here in just a moment. And we've got Black Facts coming up. We played a little bit of Dr. Eddie Glaude yesterday. Excuse me. We're going to do that again today as well. In fact, they're going to do our Black Facts for us today. So, as a matter of fact, speaking of Black Facts, let's do those right now.
What is that? What are you? It's just wrong. It's just wrong. You can like this stuff. I mean, these are the questions. It's part of it is, yes, the victim. How terrible it is for black people. I'm not a victim. I refuse to be one.
The victim is the other person who is not inferior.
That's a serious question. Of course. If you have a whole,
or his or her own self-esteem,
if you can only be tall because somebody's on their knees, then you have a serious problem. My feelings, white people. Yeah. And then she starts thinking about if they can do that. If you are.
There's more to the story. Let me get up Dr. Eddie Glaude. So, because you need to hear him today, because he's been waxing eloquently over the last couple of days as well. Who's Dr. Eddie Glaude?
You know, America's not unique in its sins. As a country, we're not unique in our evils, to be honest with you. I think where we may be singular is our refusal to acknowledge them. And the legends and myths we tell about our inherent, goodness to hide and cover and conceal so that we can maintain a kind of willful ignorance that protects our innocence. See, the thing is that when the Tea Party was happening, we were saying, pundits, oh, it's just about economic populism. It's not about race. Well, people knew, social scientists were already writing that what was driving the Tea Party were anxieties about demographic shifts, that the country was changing, that they were seeing these racially ambiguous babies on Cheerios commercials, that the country wasn't quite feeling like it was a white nation anymore. And people were screaming from the top of their lungs, this is not just simply economic populism. This is the ugly underbelly of the country. See, the thing is this, and I'll say this, and I'll take the hit on it. There are communities that have had to bear the brunt of America white Americans confronting the danger of their innocence. And it happens every generation. So somehow we have to kind of, oh my God, is this who we are? And just again, here's another generation of babies. Think about it, that 2-year-old had his bones broken by 2 parents trying to shield him from being killed. A woman who has been married to this man for as long as I've been on the planet almost, lost her husband. For what? And so what we know is that the country has been playing politics for a long time on this hatred. We know this. So it's easy for us to place it all on Donald Trump's shoulders. It's easy for us to place Pittsburgh on his shoulders. It's easy for me to place Charlottesville on his shoulders. It's easy for us to place El Paso on his shoulders. This is us. And if we're going to get past this, we can't blame it on him. He's a manifestation of the ugliness that's in us. I've had the privilege of growing up in a tradition that didn't believe in the myths and the legends because we had to bear the brunt of them. Either we're going to change, Nicole, or we're going to do this again and again, and babies are going to have to grow up without mothers and fathers, uncles and aunts, friends, while we're trying to convince white folk to finally leave behind a history that will maybe, or embrace a history that might set them free from being white. Finally.
And that's our black fact for today. Hey Mike, what's up, man? How you doing?
For more dynamic black facts, our culture, our history, our
All right, if you'd like to sponsor Black Facts, call me at 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. I got a lot of stuff to talk about today, but I have to read my tease for the show today to you, okay? Because it's important. And I was glad that I was able to play Dr. Eddie Glaude because you could hear his frustration. You could hear, black people have been living with this stench of racism for eternity. And I'm going to go back and play Toni Morrison again because there's something she said that I don't think you all got. So I want to focus on what Toni Morrison said about racism and who should fix it. But first, let me read the tease for the day. It is not a mental illness. It is not video games. It is not fatherlessness. It's an ideology. Let me say that again. It's an ideology. It is white supremacy. Charles Manson never killed a soul, but with his words. To stand silent is to ignore truth. Slavery destroyed us. Religion divided us. Ignorance controls us, and truth scares us. Now you tell me, brothers and sisters, what is your truth? That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about truth, as we try to do every day. And we're not going to let you throw those red herrings out there, Republican Party, white Taliban, Christian Taliban. No, this is about more. This is about morality. This is about humanity that you all don't get. But before that, let's just play the great late Toni Morrison one more time.
I take it this way. And then you are all strung out, and all you got is your little self. And what is that? What are you without racism? Are you good? Are you still strong? Still smart? You still like yourself? I mean, these are the questions. It's part of it is, yes, the victim, how terrible it has been for black people. I'm not a victim. I refuse to be one.
And the victim is the other person who was morally inferior.
That's a serious question. Of course.
Racism
if you have the whole,
for his or her own self-esteem and definition.
If you can only be tall because somebody's on their knees, then you have a serious problem. And my feeling is, white people have a very, very serious problem. And they should start thinking about what they can do about it. Take me out of it.
Hello. What have I been saying on this show? What have I been saying for the longest? Is that white people created racism. White people have to fix it. Toni Morrison just said, white people have a very serious problem, and they have to fix it. Not us. We've spent too much time trying to fix their bigotry and racism. She asked the profound question, what are you without your bigotry and racism? What are you? Come on, man. These are the questions that our leaders ought to be asking. These are the answers that our leaders ought to be demanding. Yet many of you all, black and white, sit silent. Many of you all still try to pretend as though, oh, he's not a racist, even though he's worshiped by racists. You know, that's almost like saying Satan is not Satan, even though he has devil worshipers. Well, who the hell are they worshiping? Come on, man. This is crazy, man. 855-525-5683 is the number. Cliff May is sitting here with me today. What's up, Cliff? I'm sorry. I had to get on my little rant today. Should have been here yesterday. I was really, really on one.
No, it's fine. I'm just taking everything in. It's always good to be back in Little Rock and enjoying the show, and I listen when I can when I'm not here. But I agree completely. I didn't quite catch what everything she was saying, and it took me a little bit. I think I was trying to process the first half of it, but when you played it again, I was able to process the second half of what she said, and it was really deep. Saying that, if you're only able to feel confident and feel important because someone else, or the person next to you, is constantly being put down or oppressed, then there really is a problem, and that's the situation we're dealing with. And I think a lot of people try to lie to themselves about the situation that's going on in America right now.
Well, I said earlier in my tease that this is an ideology, okay? And the reason I said it was an ideology, and here's why. I want to read you the definition of ideology, all right? So when I read you this definition, those of you who are listening, from this point forward, don't allow them to tell you it's mental illness, okay? Here's the definition of ideology. It's a set of ideas that form one's aims, no pun intended, expectations, and actions. You all get that, right? This driver in El Paso purposely, based on his aims, he purposely drove to El Paso. A 9-hour drive from Allen, Texas, from what I understand. From Allen, Texas to El Paso, Texas. Look, I've done that haul. That's a long haul. There are parts of when you get out there west of El Paso and sometimes east of El Paso, it looks like you're on the damn moon. Okay? And there reports this morning said that he actually was hungry He had intent on killing someone somewhere. I didn't hear this until this morning. So he just happened to pull over at the Walmart because he was hungry. He goes in and gets food. Then he comes back out to his, unarmed at first. He just goes into Walmart to get something to eat. So all those brown people in there, comes back out, has his AK-47 in his vehicle because it was clear that he was set to do harm. And he goes back in and he lights up that Walmart. That's an ideology. You see what I'm saying? A set of ideas. And by the way, how do we know about those ideas? Because he posted a 52-page manifesto on 8chan. Okay? So we know it's a set of ideas that form one's aims, expectations, and actions. Now, what were his expectations? How do we know that? Well, it's in his manifesto. And he even told the police that he wanted to kill as many Mexicans as he could. Those are out of his words.
It's really sad because, like I was saying before the show, I have people down there that I served in the military with, and a lot of people are not familiar, but or might not be familiar, but there are some veterans in that area as well. Retired, or people who didn't quite retire, but they served for a while honorably and got out, and they live in that area. There's also a base not too near, that's not too far from there as well. And a bunch of those people live in El Paso, who are active duty or guards or reserve. And so I had to check on some people that I served with because they were in that area. By chance, they just got reassigned to another station, and her mom, actually I just checked on her the other day, and her mom and her brother were living there. They just moved away like a few weeks ago. So it's like, thank God, like, because I think sometimes we forget how small the world is and all the other dangers. But and I have several Hispanic people that I served with who were there as well. So this guy definitely went there intentionally. And I think sometimes when they try to say mental illness or whatever, I think sometimes it's to try to throw people off from connecting all the dots. They start just advertising that this guy's a white supremacist terrorist. Then folks start kind of putting the dots together a little quicker, and it's a lot harder to hide and deny when people start trying to hold people accountable when it comes to gun rights and holding these people accountable is hate, and pushing for hate crimes and addressing the issue of white supremacy and making them have to register. And I think that's one of the things that needs to be done more often. And I don't know if you probably saw the video where Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was holding them accountable to the fact that they're not holding these guys and making them register. And then their response was, well, we don't have enough resources. Our funding is being split. And the white supremacists that they knew about, they're not getting enough funding to cover all of them. And they're not having the manpower to also monitor every one of them because...
Well, the FBI has known for the longest.
Right.
We forget about Timothy, the worst terrorist act ever in the history of America by an American citizen was Timothy McVeigh, Oklahoma City. So here's the problem, that this president has cut the funding to monitor terrorism, white terrorists in America. He did it intentionally. So, and also read an article on the show yesterday where they were concerned, many people that were in the agency were concerned of investigating white terrorists because the majority of them were Donald Trump supporters. Yeah. And they would look as though they were targeting Trump supporters instead of targeting white supremacists. Yeah, okay, so
is interfering with the ability to keep citizens safe, and people are losing their lives over this.
Well, and that's the point. Here's what so fascinates me about the idiot in the White House, is that President Obama yesterday came out and said we should soundly reject language from leaders that feed a climate of fear, hatred, and normalized racist sentiments. Okay? That's what President Obama said. Okay? So, guess who spoke up? They say hit dogs will bark.
Oh yeah, hit dogs will holler.
You see what I'm saying? So, when President Obama said that, PLOTUS, comes back and said, did George Bush ever condemn Obama after Sandy Hook? Obama had 32 mass shootings during his reign. Not many people said Obama is out of control. Mass shootings were happening before the president even thought about running for president. You get that? You see how stupid that is?
This is really stupid because
okay,
it was part of that was in reaction to Obama being president. Like that's what got us here. Like,
but the point being is that if you don't feed a climate of fear, if you don't feed a climate of hatred, if you're not normalizing racist sentiment,
oh yeah,
why would you need to respond to that? You get that, right? So in other words,
deflect.
What Obama said, apparently you feel like he was talking about you.
Oh yeah.
This is the problem here. And people don't get this. And look, at the end of the day, this is going to continue until you all do something about it. It's going to continue. You know, now, it's not video games. You know, I played, for a long time, my favorite video game was SOCOM. Okay?
Every time you tell me that,
man, my favorite video game, other than the sports games, was SOCOM. And I would play SOCOM religiously for hours. I would wake up the days, I worked Monday through Friday. So typically when I came home, when I got off work, prior to me going into sales, because sales took more of my time. But when I got off work, I would get home about 6. I would play SOCOM every night till about 11 o'clock.
See, during that time, my game was Halo.
Okay. Well, right. I wasn't into Halo.
We played
because it was on the Xbox platform. I was a PS2 platform.
We played from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. every Friday and Saturday night on the weekends.
Well, I hadn't got to weekends yet. Okay. Because when I got to weekends, hey, I wasn't dating anyone. Didn't have a ball and chain. You know, when my kids wasn't with me, I'd come home on a Friday night. I'd play as long as I can Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
It was, unless I had a show Saturday morning, because I was still doing radio.
I still do because I ain't got kids.
But I would play all night Friday night, wake up, go do my show Saturday morning, come back home, play SOCOM all night, all afternoon, and all night Saturday and Sunday all day until I went back to work Monday morning. Okay? I'm telling you, all right? There was never a moment in that time frame that I ever wanted to go out and shoot somebody. There was never a moment in that time frame that I wanted to go out and spray a school or a church or a park or a festival. That it never entered my mind.
Oh no, because you're fully aware of the ramifications for doing that, and on top of the moral aspect of it, like you just know it's wrong. Like it's just morally wrong and just just a horrible thing to do in general. But I've played almost every first-person shooter game there is. Every game that you can imagine of almost every type of violence that you put in a video game that's legal. I have played it, and I have never wanted to go beat up anybody, shoot anybody, terrorize anybay, break windows, smash a car, steal a car. None. I played Grand Theft Auto.
I hate that game, by the way.
I was just playing it this morning. Like I didn't steal nobody's car on the way.
You didn't? No. You didn't get some new whips?
Nah.
Well, and that's my point. I played Call of Duty. It was a long time before I even played Call of Duty because SOCOM was the game until they ruined it.
Well, now they've ruined Call of Duty, but it's about to come back.
Oh, okay. So they ruined SOCOM. So because I wanted a single-person shooter, I went to Call of Duty. Played that religiously. Never had the urge. So my point in bringing this up, because we got another aspect of that of this now.
That link I sent you too.
Exactly. So this argument that video games has caused people to want to kill other people. No, bros, that dog ain't gonna hunt with me. It just ain't gonna hunt. Now here's the other one. And I told a lot of you all yesterday, by the way, Aurora, white man. Sandy Hook, white man.
Arrested.
Charleston, white man.
Arrested.
Sutherland Springs, white man. Vegas, white man. Parkland, white man. Thousand Oaks, white man. Pittsburgh, white man. El Paso, white man. Dayton, white man. Are y'all seeing a pattern? And all of those guys are mentally ill. At least that's what they're saying. Now, I would concur that anyone who wants to consider someone crazy when they kill someone, they're crazy. And I can go with that, but the mental illness is not what caused them to go and shoot up those schools.
I think it's more of a deviant side. I would assume. So
here's what Donald Trump said once. I don't know if I would do the fighting myself, but someone will. You know what that is? You know the term? That's called stochastic terrorism. Okay? That's what it's called. All right? And what that means is the public demonization of a person or group and or the use of mass communications to incite random actors to carry out violent or terrorist acts that are statistically predictable but individually unpredictable. Mm-hmm. In other words, remote control murder by a lone wolf.
I would also argue that it might possibly be considered dog whistling as well.
Same difference.
Because you're saying something that only certain people are going to pick up on. Not everyone's going to recognize it right away, and then some people are acting on it and having a certain mentality or behavior based on that message that you're sending out.
Y'all say y'all want it. It's mental illness. So let me read an exchange. This is the USA. It's a mental health issue. Here's what the world says back. We have those, but we don't have mass shootings. Then the US comes back and says, then it's a video game issue. The world comes back and says, we have those too. We don't have mass shootings. The US then comes back and says, it's very complex. The world says, no, it's gun laws. The US says, prayer in school. And then the world comes back and says, God, you're stupid. Mm-hmm. Because we are.
Oh, yeah.
We are.
As a country, yes. Very much.
It is amazing to me. Japan has the highest video game revenue per capita out of any country. Mm-hmm. Japan does.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
They make half.
U.S. has 40,000 gun deaths per year. Japan has less than 10 per year. Mm-hmm. Yo, dog, it ain't the video games. Okay? We're going to get on the mental illness part here in a moment. But it ain't the video games. And if you all allow them to do that, to change the narrative here, okay? Even Kevin McCarthy, this is part of Trump's administration. He suggests video games are blamed for the El Paso and Dayton shootings. If you all allow them to change this narrative, then you're a damn fool, and this is what they're trying to do. The words that Donald Trump said are directly related to what is going on in this country. And if anyone wants to challenge that, I dare you. I want to get to this other article because I'm tired of people talking about mental health. When someone does something out of the ordinary, the first thing they want to say, well, he's got a mental problem. And that's a bunch of crap. People do things look, you ever heard of a crime of passion? That wasn't a mental problem. So let me read a little bit of this article for you, okay? It's called Research Does Not Support Blaming Mass Shootings on Mental Health. Okay? It doesn't support. Mental health professionals pushed back Monday to President Trump's assertion that mental health illness is the culprit for recent mass shootings in the United States. We must reform our mental health laws. I'm not going to read what he had to say. The American Psychological Association responded to comments regarding mental health illness and mass shootings, reiterating that mental health illness does not necessarily lead to violence, and adding that stigmatizing mental health illness will discourage people who are struggling for seeking treatment. Routinely blaming mass shootings on mental health illness is unfounded and stigmatizing. Research has shown that only a very small percentage of violent acts are committed by people who are diagnosed with or in treatment for mental illness. The rates of mental illness are roughly the same around the world, yet other countries are not experiencing these traumatic events as often as we face them. Okay? One study provided by the National Institutes of Health found fewer than 5% of gun-related killings were perpetrated by people diagnosed with mental illness. Hello. Additionally, a Homeland Security study into mass shootings found 75% of attackers showed signs that they were about to attack. Research also shows that 59% of the time people around mass shootings did not report odd behavior to law enforcement. It is fairly common for people who have some information that a professional will look at and say, oh my goodness, this kid is in trouble. Remember the kid we talked about yesterday that was in South Carolina, who was out in the woods, took a box and said he was shooting up Jordans because those were the shoes that black kids like. Have you seen that video?
I haven't seen it.
Oh man. And he lights in and talking about this is how I would kill a black man. Now, fortunately, someone saw that video and turned that little racist in. He didn't have a mental health problem. That was something that his daddy and his mama taught him in his house in South Carolina. This racism is being taught by these mamas, these white mamas and these white daddies. Period, end of story. Has nothing to do with mental health. You know what? Guess what? I'm a mental health sufferer. Yes, I am. I suffer from depression.
I had a similar situation with that in Russellville, where I worked at a certain department store, and this lady brought her son in, and her husband were separated or divorced, whatever the case was. And so she had her son in, and he had stayed at his dad's for the weekend or for the week, whatever. Maybe it was for the summer. She got him back. She brought him in the store to go buy some shoes, and she asked me to help him find some shoes in his size. And I'm like, all right, what kind of shoes are we looking for? So we're looking around. We had Nike, we had New Balance, we had different shoes, Adidas, whatever. And the first thing he tells me is, I don't want to wear any kind of shoes that the rapper people wear. And so, red flag. I knew exactly what he meant. And the mom was like, I'm sorry, she eventually had heard about what he said, and she was apologizing for him. So you need to apologize, you need to talk to him about this, keep him from saying that again, because around the wrong person, that can cause an argument or a fight or something, it's very insulting. And so
she knew he had said it, he'd said it in her presence.
Yeah.
She had ignored it. That's the problem, is that if you don't look, at the end of the day, there are certain things that my mom didn't allow in my house, in her house. I'll tell you what, I will not even drink in my mother's house now. I'm a grown man. I'm 58 years old. But if I go and my mom will offer me a drink sometimes. She's 94. And she'll say, Dave, got some, want a highball or whatever? I said, no, Mom, I don't drink. Well, you can drink. No, that's okay, Mom. She don't realize that out of respect for her, I will not drink in her house. Okay? So my point being is that there are certain things that parents teach their children that is unacceptable. You see what I'm saying? And if racism is unacceptable in your home, then where are they getting it from? Don't tell me that it's from their friends. Don't tell me it's from it's video games. Don't tell me all of a sudden they become racist when they become mentally ill. Is that what happens?
No, I think she was trying to blame it on the dad indirectly, but not, so.
Weren't you, okay, did you sleep with the dad? Did y'all conceive a child together?
Yeah, they did. Well, obviously, yeah, they did.
Come on, man. See, that's that okie doke. We're tired of that, man. We're tired of them trying to make excuses for their racism. It's time to call them on the table and either own up to it and fix it. We ain't fixing it. I've said years ago, I'm done trying to get white folks to stop racism. I'm done with that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm over that.
Yeah, before I left my last job, I made it very known to my managers and the people I work with that anyone wearing one of those red hats or a Confederate flag on the shirt, I wasn't going to check them out. And so, there were moments when I had to walk away or step away because it presents a very uncomfortable, awkward, hostile situation.
Well, at the end of the day, they have to end it. By the way, hats off. Remember when this all started, when the black couple in Northern California went out to a picnic and the white woman, what we call a picnic patty?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Well, for the second year in a row, 2,500 people have gathered at Oakland's Lake Merritt to do a barbecue. And they're calling it the annual barbecuing while black.
Yeah, buddy.
This is how you fight racism, folks. You fight it intellectually and you fight it logically. All right? You don't fight it doing the same old things without results.
And protesting does work. You know, I saw somewhere where they were, where was it? Oh, Puerto Rico. Remember they've been protesting the governor all
Yep.
what, like 2 weeks or something like
Yep.
that? And they finally kicked him out.
And he finally resigned over the weekend.
So hey, if we stick together, we can accomplish anything.
And that's what I'm trying to tell people. You know, speaking of which, you all's former governor, we're going to get to Asa in a moment because I know you like him. Speaking of which, former Arkansas governor, I mean, every time one of these Arkansas elected officials open their mouths, I get more and more embarrassed, man. I just got to be honest. I mean, every time one of them open their mouths, I can't believe you said that. Every time one of them open their mouths, I get more and more embarrassed. You know, we saw the national embarrassment that was Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I mean, and then someone said she's going to come back to Arkansas and run for Senate. What?
I think Trump was trying to encourage her to run for governor about.
Oh my God. I mean, if that happens, then we all need to be lined up and shot.
She'll probably go for us.
But here's a daddy. Here's Daddy Huckabee. Thoughts and prayers are the only thing that will stop mass shootings.
Well, that's the case. Why we still have them.
Wait, you just told me that. That's what I'm saying. This is just stupidity.
If they didn't stop the first one, why
Wait a minute. We have had 257 mass shootings this year alone. And how many thoughts and prayers were offered? Oh my! This is Mike Huckabee.
That's what happened when you pray to white Jesus instead of black Jesus, I guess.
Y'all got problems. Y'all been on one today, man.
Hi, Robert.
What's up, baby?
Thoughts and prayers to black Jesus.
Did you vote for Huckabee?
No.
Did you vote for Huckabee?
No.
You sure?
Never.
You can't look like
Man,
a
you look like a Huckabee follower.
You got that polo on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You got
heard.
one of them bad
I heard you send a love letter to Sarah Huckabee.
No.
I heard that they had to pull you off the Broadway Bridge after you found out she was married.
Nah. Never that.
Dear Sarah, I have a love for you deep in my heart.
I'm a black man.
Both of y'all sick.
I have left Olivia.
Both of y'all sick.
Lord have mercy.
That would be Shaniqua, not Olivia.
Olivia.
Shaniqua, we done. I'm going to Sarah.
Lord have
Hey man,
mercy.
I've been listening to y'all, man. And you know what? Y'all make some good points. But the thing is, man, when we talk about these mass shootings, we never have the conversation around mental health. Because again, like I said yesterday, I think that's important, right? Because a guy has to be, something's got to be wrong with you. You walk into a place and you just open up fire on people you don't know. There's got to be something wrong with you, right? There has to be a mental health component.
I would be interested to see like an official document from the FBI or CIA or whoever's holding this guy once they get done and questioning him, interrogating him to see what his actual prognosis is to figure out kind of where he's coming from, whether it's a mental health issue or just pure stupidity or just
It's ideology.
Well, I mean, I understand that. I mean, that's kind of
I don't think it's
the base of it.
I don't think that's
I feel like
that alone.
there could be something else to that.
Let me tell you why it's ideology. What made all of those soldiers in World War II line up Jews and shoot them? Was it mental health?
I don't think that had anything to do with ideology. I think that
Oh,
was a
yes.
direct order.
Oh, but it still had to do with ideology. Ideology was guiding it.
Okay.
Although some of those may not have wanted to follow orders, too many of them did.
But Dave,
that's an ideology.
But Dave, my point is, if I was in some kind of subversive group and they decided, you know what, tomorrow we're just going to go kill some white people, Dave, I don't think I could do that.
That's you.
I don't, and my point is, I don't think any sane person could do that, right? Something has to be wrong with you to just want to go and kill a group of people for no reason.
Okay.
Right?
So,
now, I can see killing you for a reason, but I can't see killing you for no reason.
Probably in his mind, he probably thought he had a legit reason.
They were invading his country.
That's
an ideology.
Then again, that's again, something is wrong with you.
But to Robert's point, though, they have done research on people who, groups of people who do things that are deviant or illegal or whatever. They have done research showing that if one person is put in a group where other people are doing something they know they shouldn't be doing, and the other person doesn't do it, they will eventually give in by habit of seeing the other ones do it. And there is that aspect of it. I mean, it's
No, you just proved my point.
psychology.
Yeah, well, I mean-
So here's my point. Why do good cops stand around and watch bad cops commit crimes? It's an ideology. It's a mentality that they have.
I'm not disagreeing with you on the ideology part.
So
right?
are cops mental?
I'm not disagreeing with you on that part,
Good
but
mental.
that's a good point. That's a very good point. But
Maybe a
I think,
different kind of mental.
different kind of mental. But to some degree, I equate this to brothers, how they try to make the correlation between brothers shooting each other in the hood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a totally different distinction between what these cats do versus what these guys are doing, in my opinion. And the reason I say that is you got brothers in the hood who are shooting each other. These brothers are shooting each other because they don't have a police force they can call. They don't have a 911 they can call and go, hey, I need to talk to somebody. Jakeem just stole 2 keys of my dope, and I need to get my dope back. Can somebody send the police over here to go with me to get my dope back from Jakeem? He can't do that. So the way he handles that situation is he has to get violent. That's totally different. That's about something, in my opinion, that's tangible. That's about money. That's about my money, right? That's about me. If I want to keep being a businessman in the street, then the way I hold my respect is I got to do something stern and severe to this cat, right?
So that's street ideology.
That's street ideology, but to me, it's totally different than what these cats are doing. You're talking about some cat who just decides to get a gun and say, you know what, today I'm just going to go kill some Mexicans at Walmart. That's it. There's nothing else. There is nothing else. There is no other anything associated with his act.
I could agree with that if he hadn't have posted a 52-page manifesto.
Even though but again, I bet if you read the manifesto, it was somewhat ignorant because.
Let me read what the definition of ideology is.
Okay.
Set of ideas that form one's aims, expectations, and actions.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with you on that in any way.
That's what this is not a mental illness problem. I understand the potential link,
Yeah.
but what drove this person was an ideology, a belief system. It's the same as being a Christian. It's the same as being a Muslim. It's the same as what the Taliban did. It's the same as the people who flew those planes into those buildings. That was a ideology.
But there has to be something mentally wrong with you, Dave.
So
to
are you
fly a plane into a building and you're piloting that plane?
So Christians do similar things.
Like?
They hadn't flown planes into buildings, but certainly Christians enslaved black people.
We said that yesterday.
That's an ideology.
There has to be something wrong with you mentally to do these things.
There's something wrong with white Christians.
I guess so. I mean, for you to do things like this, there has to be something mentally wrong with you. I mean, at the end of the day, we can say whatever we want to say. And people say, well, Robert, you're only saying that because you don't want them to take your guns. No, you ain't taking my gun.
No, they're not going to take your gun.
But secondly, I think that the problem that we're facing now in America is more about this, and I'm really irritated with everybody trying to make this be a whole Trump thing. Racism has been before Trump even came.
He just made it famous.
I don't think Trump did that because if you remember, the report I read from the FBI said the enrollment in the Ku Klux Klan spiked from 2008 to 2012. Now, what happened significantly in 2008?
Obama was elected
president.
I was going to say
that was a significant event that sparked the increased enrollment. Now, think about it. For 300 years, ever since I've been alive, your president has always been a Caucasian male.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden now, your fearless leader is a black man.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also
that could be traumatic for some folks.
That there was also a lot of anti-black sentiment at the same time that he was elected from the Tea Party and from Trump himself. Claiming that Barack Obama wasn't necessarily a legal, legit president because he was black and that he was supposedly from Kenya and all this other stuff and kind of trying to discredit him as an American president, which kind of had some racial undertones to it that was really taken and ran with by a lot of Tea Party
without a doubt
conservatives who had all those lynching Obama things as well. I think it could be a little bit of both, but also I think what makes it possible for some of these people to do some of these things is if you're in an area like Iowa or Kansas or Illinois, you know, or certain parts of Arkansas and Alabama, Mississippi, is that you don't necessarily, if you're not around a lot of minorities or black people in general, then you are susceptible to in a community where you're socialized into this mentality that approves of racism and white supremacy without you realizing exactly what it is. Like
Mentality or ideology?
I think it can be both because, you know,
I'm just letting y'all prove my point.
Because the ideology, I'm not necessarily arguing against it. I'm just saying that I think it could be possibly more than just one thing.
Would you say a belief system is an ideology, right? Okay.
Yeah,
I agree.
Right. Would you say with that?
But I think
A belief system is an ideology.
because you can have a mentality and a ideology as well. But I think it's very possible because I do see this in wrestling in an area where people have grown up and their whole family for generations has been just racist, like inherently racist.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've always passed that down, made sure to pass that down to their.
That's their belief system.
That's their belief system,
Mm-hmm.
and so by them being socialized into that and them believing it, and because these are their parents, their doctors or teachers, whatever, telling them this, they're assuming that because these are people in positions of authority that they are correct in what they're telling them or teaching them. Although at some point you would think common sense would kick in, but if you live in a community where you don't really have any minorities or any black people living there, and you have all these people around you telling you this is the right way to believe, this is the thing to believe,
Right.
this is, and it's passed down, and you see all the way through your generations of your family believing this and acting out on these ideologies. I think that could also fuel and part of it. And like I said, you would think that at some point common sense would kick in, but common sense is proven different, for different groups of people. But I think that could also be a part of it. Like maybe he grew up in this area, wasn't really necessarily friends or knew a lot of people who were minorities. He heard the things from Trump, was motivated by it, he kind of sat and dwelled on it. He kind of lives in his own little bubble, his whiteness, and maybe that was the activator thing that he might or might not have an actual mental thing going on, but it's definitely proven that he was racist. So,
So he bought into the ideology. Thanks for proving my point, Cliff. The show's over. We're done today. Man, I'm good.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily arguing against it. I just think that there is a chance that there might have been something else along with it.
I just see. Here's my problem with trying to blame mental illness.
And I'm not blaming mental illness. I'm just saying that sometimes people have more than one thing going on.
Maybe true.
A certain way.
But this argument that mental illness is a problem, as I said earlier,
yeah, people.
when you look around the world, the rates of mental illness is equal to around the world that it is in America.
I feel like
okay, we're not having mass shooters in other parts of the world that are and they're being mental ill. This phenomenon is only occurring in America. So when you try to juxtapose mental illness, well, there are case studies that show, well, why isn't this happening in other parts of the world? The statistics I read earlier in the show about video games, well, Japanese buy and sell and play video games more than anybody in the world. Why aren't they doing these same things? So what is the common denominator? Well, we can X those out now when we look at the world. So the common denominator as it relates to us in America is the shootings that I read. There were 12 of them just a few minutes ago. Yeah. All of those were white boys. All right. Now, what is the problem here? Oh, we're being displaced. We're upset. What were they saying in Charlottesville? You will not replace us. Exactly. You all weren't paying attention here. This is what this is all about. This is about 2042. No one wants to pay attention to that. And until we pay attention, look, the next thing is going to happen. They're gonna look. I saw a piece yesterday by the guy who is over 4chan. Okay? Do you know that racist website is ran by an ex-military veteran?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know it either.
Why would I be surprised?
Okay? So the guy who started it actually lives in the Philippines. They had an exclusive report on him this morning. He had an interview. He started as a means, that website was a means for people to come together with ideas. It was then taken over by an ex-military veteran and his son, And that's when it changed. This is about an ideology. This is about a fear of white people becoming minorities in this country. And we can blame it on video games, we can blame it on mental health, but until we directly look at white supremacy and racism, this is going to continue because you're going to always have people like Donald Trump who can stir the pot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's what the problem is. No, I'm not blaming it on Donald Trump. He's a pot stirrer. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Big ass spoon.
You see, but the problem, as Dr. Eddie Glaude said in that piece, this is us. And until America addresses us, this is not going to be fixed. I'm sorry. I'm like you, Robert. You ain't getting my guns. You're a damn fool if you trade in your gun. You ain't getting my guns. This ain't about free speech. It ain't really even about the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
It is really about a culture of terrorism in this country that, as we read yesterday, that even federal officials are afraid to address because they are afraid that they will be viewed as looking at Trump supporters. Well, wait a minute. Are Trump supporters racist? Apparently in that statement they are. So you're telling me that you're going to ignore terrorists because you're afraid that you're going to be criticized in the public.
We're right back to the conversation around 9/11, right? So just like I said yesterday, the FBI's resources for domestic terrorism, they use 20% of their resources for domestic terrorism. They use 80% of their resources for international terrorism. So that being the case, we see that for the FBI, international terrorism is in their eyesight more important than domestic terrorism. Now, I mean, you got guys who are spelling out Trump with their guns. That should have been somebody's red flag.
That was the El Paso shooter.
But we're still not having these conversations. For me, whenever we have conversations about guns, it is so very simplistic. Everybody wants to say the gun's the problem because the gun's an easy thing, right? But if we start talking about the other issues, we start talking about mental health, we start having those conversations, nobody really wants to have those for whatever reason, right? Because having a conversation around mental health, for whatever reason, makes people uncomfortable. But if your son is killing people, right, something ain't right with him. Let's give him some therapy. Let's identify him early and get him some help because what we find out is that these guys are like these serial killers, right? We know when he's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 that he's killed a dog, that he's killed a cat. And we've learned that killing dogs and killing cats and killing animals leads you on to eventually killing humans, right? But for whatever reason, we never address that. You with me? And so then when we have this big mass murder, we go, oh my God, that's so terrible. But we had signs before. Because nobody wants to have the hard conversation. The hard conversation is, how do we address the mental component of this situation? Because again, Dave's saying, oh, it ain't just mental health. Well, okay, if it ain't just mental health, what else is it then?
Why is it in countries around the world who have the same rates of mental illness as Americans, why aren't those people shooting up schools and churches?
So let's talk about some countries. Some countries have outlawed certain guns. Certain guns you can't even have in those countries, right? But if you look at, I can't remember because I can't remember who it was. I read this probably about 2 years ago. They were talking about these other countries. In other countries, they have kind of the same thing when these people go in and blow up and have bomb attacks. They don't have guns, so they create bombs. Right? They still do the foolishness they do, but they're not doing it with a gun. That's the only difference.
The last time there was a bombing that was not a native, those were terrorists. I'm talking about native people. Why aren't they committing these same acts? And even if we use that logic, Japan has had only 10 shootings. If you're saying that,
they have a harsher criminal justice system.
Well,
too.
but again, they do, but still, they don't stop the shootings. You don't get to the joint criminal justice system until after the shooting has taken place.
True.
My point being is that we're going to argue that mental health is the problem. We have a petri dish called the world in which we can study human behavior. And you would tend to believe that human behavior would be taking place in other parts of the country, even less frequently than it is in America, but still it would be taking place. It is not taking place. That's the point. So when you say let's look at the mental illness issue, no, let's look at the white supremacy issue. I remember those kids were saying, you will not replace us. We need to be looking at what mama and daddy is teaching them.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because let's say, for instance, that kid might be a little mentally, as we used to call it back in the day. All right? So if you got mama and daddy talking about N-word, those N-words, those Mexicans or this all the time.
Invasion.
You see what I'm saying? Then if that child or that young person is sitting on the fence of mental capacity, then yes, if he's being bombarded with it, it's called indoctrination.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
It's like an training situation.
Exactly. So before we say, just quickly write it off and say, let's address the mental illness aspect of it, you got to look at where this is coming from. Okay? And let's even look at before just these recent spate of killings. Even though the 60s were horrendous, people weren't going around. The only shooting that I remember was at 69 at the University of Texas, where the guy climbed up in the watchtower and was shooting people, snipering people. After that, there were no other mass shootings like that for a long time.
Dave, you act like these mass shootings just started.
I just quoted the Texas thing.
The first one we had that I remember was 1840 at the University of Virginia, in Charleston, Virginia. I think it was Charleston or Charlotte, one of them, in Virginia, right? That was the first one, 1840.
And who did it?
I don't know. I'm assuming because, it wouldn't have been a black guy, but I'm assuming it was a Caucasian male. But my point to
was
you
that
is,
mental illness?
My point to you is this.
Was that mental illness? Okay.
That was the first one, and I think he shot a professor, right?
Mm.
Okay. These shootings have been happening long before us. 1840, Dave. 1840, bruh.
Was that mental illness?
So you want me to say it was mental illness?
I'm just because see here's we run a danger if every time something happens we just write it off as mental illness.
No, I'm not saying
The reason I'm so passionate about this is because I revealed I suffer from mental illness.
So
it's called depression.
I'm gonna make sure I'm with you when you're not having a good day. So
I'm being real. It's called depression. There are times when I don't want to leave my house, believe it or not. I know I come in here looking all pretty high tempting and stuff like that. But there are times when I'm really, really suffering. Okay? Right. I know thousands of other people who are going through the same thing. Not once in my life. Now, I will admit that there was a time in my life that I wanted to take my life. I talk about that all the time. But you know what I do? If I got a mental illness, I go talk to somebody.
Everybody's not
I see somebody.
Not everybody's
okay?
like you. Not everybody's
so,
like you.
But I've never decided, and here's the other thing. Do you think black people don't suffer from mental illness?
Of course
So why aren't black people shooting up schools?
That question, well, they said yesterday 63 black folks have been involved in it. What was it, 63?
63 as far as who were killed?
No, 63 blacks.
Who has ever done it?
63 black males have done mass shootings. 63.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so but again, I can't remember the only real.
The only one I remember was the DC sniper.
The DC sniper. Okay.
That had me scared because I lived over there.
Yeah.
He was like,
but
white man you saw drive by, he was like, okay, should I let him go?
But again, let's just take that example if we want to make that argument, and we got to go to a break. But let's just take that example real fast. That as angry as black men are, don't you think if mental illness was a major trigger, that black men would be shooting up folks left and right? Wouldn't we be doing that? Wouldn't we be snapping every day?
close to it. I mean,
You get my point, right?
We under a lot of stress these days.
Black men are under more stress than any other person in their ethnic group. We ain't shooting up theaters, schools.
19 blacks, I apologize. 64 whites.
Okay, I thought that sounded a little high.
19 blacks, 64 whites. So there are, but the thing is I don't want us to completely throw out mental illness, because as long as we're having conversations around guns, we never really address the real problem.
Oh, Robert, you just don't want nobody to take your gun.
Somebody somewhere has an issue, and we gotta fix the issue. Yeah, I don't want you to take my gun. No,
we gotta fix white supremacy.
While we talking about guns, I think the other part that can eliminate some of these shootings, gun restrictions,
is white supremacy.
Gun laws.
Stop white supremacy. Hey, we gotta take a break. We'll be back in a moment. You listen to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices.
Hashtag stop white guns.
Don't forget, I have the button on your mic clip. EnjoyThatRadio.com.
Yeah, exactly. They trying to do you in.
The law office of James F. Swindoll provides our clients the personal care and attention that larger law firms cannot offer. Our experienced attorneys have brought hundreds of cases to verdict.
So are we still going to the
court and recovered millions
place today?
for our clients.
Yeah.
If
Okay,
you
because I'm gonna leave. Head over there once we leave
or
here.
have property wrongfully damaged, we may be
Yeah,
able to
definitely.
help.
Let's go check
Do
it
not
out.
hesitate to contact
Because
our
it
firm
looks nice,
anytime for a
but
free
again,
attorney consultation.
That just goes to show you when you have ideas and you ain't got the money, other people have them same ideas. I'm gonna bet you he's not from here.
Or email
Yeah, I'm just curious to know
What made him decide to do it?
Our offices are centrally located.
I was thinking about trying to set up a prep kitchen.
That's the law offices of
Because there wasn't one when I first moved to Little Rock. There is one now.
Products liability
So-
attorney serving Arkansas since 1977.
Mitchell Funeral Home welcomes all of Arkadelphia and Arkansas to connect with a family-owned and
LaTanya says
provider
it's
in Clark
hatred.
County since
That's the mental
1966.
illness.
At Mitchell Funeral Home, they understand that the funeral
Man, they
is a celebration of
mad
life,
because they losing their
entire
position.
staff takes great pride in
You know what
caring,
kills me?
personal, and
I'm upset about that. They taking our jobs.
area policies
You gonna be out there picking watermelon dog.
and monument sales.
What about them strawberries? You gonna get out there and pick them strawberries? What? Hey, we need some corn. You gonna go? Hey, we got a corn caravan. You gonna pick the corn?
And will continue to
You ain't losing no jobs for them.
Somebody said the other day, if Trump said that all these undocumented people coming over is rapists and drug dealers, how are you afraid of losing your job, and what kind of job? He said, how you worry about losing your job if Trump said they all drug dealers and rapists?
And see, that's what I mean. When you really start applying logic to this, you begin to realize just how asinine this is. These people don't get it.
Brian James is the greatest player we've seen this generation. You have to be careful when you start saying, and so he wasn't as good as Mike, or he wasn't as good as Max. Every generation you get that. You begin to sound like that old man that lives down the street, and every time you walk on his yard, or you even walk by his yard, he's on the porch, and he's got that little crooked finger, he's like, get off my lawn! Get off my lawn! Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on EnjoyThatRadio.com. Get off my lawn! You got it. He's the Rock's answer to your aggravation. Joy Network.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
The board meeting tonight, talk about the agenda.
Okay.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open. 5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
And along with Cliff May, who's sitting in with us today, 855-565-56... Uh-oh, I just messed that up. 855-525.
You all right?
5683. I'm getting depressed.
Stop, man. Stop.
Put your hand where we can see.
Y'all sick, man. Will y'all stop? Y'all sick.
Look here, sir. I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle right now.
You know what? Y'all are the black version of Trump. Y'all are not politically correct.
Y'all
That is too much mayonnaise in
are
the
just killing me today.
Y'all are not politically correct at all.
Look here, Robert. We're going to need you to step out of your truck.
He's a big one, too. We're going to need backup.
We're
We're gonna need backup.
This is a big old boy right here.
Charlie, we got a 745.
Hey, Jimmy, Roger, come on over here. Look at this feller.
I am so glad they could not hear us off air.
We
My
got this
God.
fella over here, and he ain't even mad.
Hey,
He got a Trump hat on too.
it's our issues, our solutions, our voices. I want to read something to you real fast. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you.
You mean like the Irish?
That's what that was
You
saying.
mean like the Trump supporters?
Hey,
You mean like conservatives?
that was said by President Lyndon Baines Johnson. And what you're seeing today is that very thing. Okay? These white folks are tripping and losing their minds because all of a sudden 2042 is right there in their faces and they're scared. One other quick note, just to give you an example of how sick this country is. Robert Henderson was not fired as a state trooper because he belonged to the Ku Klux Klan or any other white supremacist groups, authorities said. Instead, he was ousted because he could not uphold public trust while participating in such groups.
I mean, it's kind of
Hang on. An arbitrator disagreed, ordering the state patrol to reinstate Mr. Henderson within 60 days and pay him back wages. The state went to court Friday to keep him off the force. Now, this happened in Nebraska. This is an ideology.
Well, hold on, y'all. I don't know why you're talking about that. Little Rock, it is, you are given, you can be openly racist and be a Little Rock police officer.
There you go.
It has been ruled.
It's hard to be a white man and a black man.
There you go.
It's hard, ain't it, man?
There you go.
So, I mean, that's not uncommon.
Hey.
I mean, that's when the guy, I can't think of the guy's name, the one that called the guy the jigaboo. Called him a bunch of jigaboos, whatever else he called
Is
him.
that the guy with the white man's name?
Pretty much. You remember the guy down the river market, the guy, I can't think of the police officer's name.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on
for a
YouTube,
while.
right.
I was trying to find out that some took it down.
Yeah, he was the
He was
police
talking to those
officer.
guys outside the club and called
Right,
them,
called him jigaboos.
talking about the jigaboo music and all that.
Yeah, all that, yeah. So they ruled, I think the police department fired him after that
Yeah, he
incident,
got fired for that.
and the Civil Service Commission reinstated it.
Woo.
Yeah.
That's a brave choice.
Because you can be openly racist on the Little Rock Police Force. So there you have it.
So if you got police who are openly racist, they have children, they are in our government, they are in our Congress, they are in our Senate. When white people, white boys come out and do what they've been
I
doing.
mean, do what? Say they went to go to Ku Klux Klan meeting and say I went by accident.
See?
As we drove up, I saw the cross burning, but I didn't know it was going to.
I thought it was a forest fire. I was just trying to put the fire out.
I thought we were going to roast marshmallows.
You mean they stuck that in my yearbook?
Yeah.
Oh, see.
Yeah.
Man, I
Yeah.
thought those were just
This is why I'm saying this ain't mental illness, folks. This is a
You
way
gotta-
that they're trying
Okay.
to use. I understand what you're saying, Robert, but they're don't drink the Kool-Aid, brother.
Give me a minute.
We're not
Give
in
me a minute.
Guyana.
Give me a
We're
minute.
not in Jamestown, brother. Don't drink that great Kool-Aid, Robert.
And
No,
I love
Robert.
grape.
Don't
I
drink
love
that.
grape.
No, Robert.
I
Don't
love
drink that
grape.
great Kool-Aid. No.
Breaker, what night we got a fella over here drinking red Kool-Aid?
No. So you had these groups. I mean, so let's take a good hard look at Black Panthers I'm trying to think of other black groups. I can't think of any other black groups, but you got the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers were not about. They weren't about violence.
No, they weren't.
They didn't do anything to anybody. All they did was create programs that the federal government is currently still funding.
Like medical programs and feeding programs.
Yeah, they did that.
Yeah, WIC, exactly, yeah.
And so what you have now is you have organizations like the Ku Klux Klan who have for years just run roughshod on people. Now, I'm trying to think. It was a case where a black guy,
governors and deputies as members.
Yeah, where a black guy shot and killed a Ku Klux Klan member and was hung. So I mean, they even protected them even when it comes to law enforcement. So I mean, again, I still say there has to be something wrong with you to be supportive of that kind of treatment of any human being.
Oh, so I'm getting you now, Robert.
Okay.
Socialization.
You're using a subliminal ploy.
I don't understand what you mean. I'm not smart enough to use subliminal ploy.
Oh, you are sly as a fox.
I'm not smart enough to see it too. I'm not smart
because you're exactly right. Because for someone or some group of people, it's coming out now.
Dave, for subliminal ploy to work, you can't have somebody say that you're doing a subliminal ploy.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was trying to, maybe that there were people who weren't getting it, but.
Well, if it's supposed to work, Dave, you can't say, you know what, you're doing a subliminal ploy. I'm doing I see what you do. Let me tell you. Let me lay it all out for you.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm sorry.
But I wasn't doing one. But go ahead, please.
But see how? But if you weren't consciously doing one, that makes you even more of a sly devil.
Yeah, you're so good at it.
So explain to me, because I don't know what I did.
Well, what you were saying was that there must be something wrong with an individual or a group of people who are willing to subjugate other human beings. There has to be something mentally missing from those people who would be willing to do that.
Or an override function.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's it.
That's okay. Yeah, I've been saying that about white people for a long time now. 855-525-5683 is a number.
Some white people, Dave. You can't lump all white folks the same.
Okay.
Majority.
Are you doing anything about it? Are you coming out? Are you coming out and standing with those people who are being oppressed?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you preaching it in your white churches on Sunday morning?
Say it, Lord.
By the way, y'all, stop texting me these text messages.
Did you have did you have a watch party for when they see us at your white church with your white constituents to explain to them this is what's going on? As a matter of fact, yesterday we read Champ Bailey's piece at the Hall of Fame, who asked his white friends, because apparently Champ Bailey even doesn't believe that his white friends believe that when they say that we are afraid, believe us. That was Champ Bailey.
Y'all got these, hold on. Y'all got these same black folk who are skinning and grinning with these folks. Mm-hmm. And so when anything,
blanket party,
when anything comes
drop squad,
and it's problematic for the black community, you always got one Tom who comes out and says, hey. That's one. Who comes out and says, hey.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Stop. It's not. You're saying, hey.
What has happened to Shaquille? I know about Shaq. That's what I'm saying. You know, he's even got a Papa John franchise now.
Yeah. Well, somebody got to take John Schneider's spot. Calling folks anymore on the conference calls.
Hey, man. I'm telling you, it is what it is, man. We live in a very unique place. And I think that there are a lot of problems that need to be addressed in the black community. And I think the most important one is we need to have a conversation around unity. We need to have a conversation, because I'm gonna tell you something interesting that I noticed about white people. Yeah, white people will have beef.
No, she needs to be drop squatted.
Yeah, white people will have beef, right? But their beef,
you know what drop squad is?
Now, he ain't ready for drop squad. He's too young.
We're not hip in the drop squad.
Yeah, we got hip.
Go ahead. You never watched the movie Drop Squad? Do yourself a favor and go
Is that where
find
they like kidnapped him in the van?
That's it.
And I saw part of it one time when I was little.
Go watch Drop Squad.
That's a whole nother world.
I need to finish it, but
Go watch. It's in fact I think it's on YouTube. Go watch it.
Where we are currently is that white people, man, they have beef with each other, and they figure out a way to find peaceful solutions.
I agree. Within each other.
Even if they get upset with each other, they'll come back later and say,
I'm sorry.
yeah, that's the way they won't say I'm sorry, but they'll say, you know what, we need to work together on this to get
Hey
this done.
Bob,
So
let's
figure it
get
out.
this worked out.
Roger, I'm sorry.
We're gonna make a lot of money on this. And
Barely said I could borrow it.
if we just work together and let's just pray together,
Why can't we all just be friends?
we can do this together.
And why y'all making fun of it? So that voice is the voice of the rural white man.
What you trying to say there?
That's not the voice. That's not the voice who's down at City Hall. That's not the voice who's the CEO. That's not the voice.
That there Trump's gonna increase my price.
That is his voice when he goes home.
That's more sophisticated. Those voices are more sophisticated.
You get that, right? When you go home, you have a different voice than you do when you in the public.
You think so?
So when they go home, they
got problems.
They revert
Y'all
back.
got problems.
You're supposed to be happy to go out there and vote for
Yeah.
yourself.
Y'all got problems.
Just as long as you need to hit a hood.
Y'all got problems. Man, y'all need to stop, man.
Would you
Y'all
not
just crazy.
would you like me to do an operation for yourself?
Did I miss the festivities early before the earlier? What did I miss?
I just said, man.
I'll be happy about that $7,000 cutlery set.
But I'm just saying.
Yes.
I need a new desk. This one just that high enough.
I ain't seen no racism around here.
Did you say high? Anyway,
You want him in the big house?
but I understand your point, Robert, and you make an excellent point. But and this thing about unity is so profound because remember the other day I mentioned the meme that black people are the hardest people to do something for. Remember that we were talking about that. That's part of that unity thing. And that's why we're constantly exploited because we don't have that unity. We don't have a togetherness. We don't speak with one voice, whether it's economically or at the polls. We take the shotgun approach to trying to solve a problem. And until we begin to understand that everybody that's a preacher ain't a leader,
Right.
number one, that's probably the main thing that we need to get by in this city. And
Anything we do is less preachers.
well, just not. But I'm just saying, and that saying is when white people need somebody, they call. And when they're in trouble, they call an attorney. When we're in trouble, we call a preacher. So
We get to be preachers taking money and not doing this.
so we got to get over that and start really looking for solutions and not be up. And I think you make an excellent point. We got to be able to disagree, but still have a united front. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is important. Is that look? We might
Well, there just
look.
needs to be consequences for when you don't agree and you go against the status quo. You go against the grain.
Well, if you're a student.
Of the people in general.
Okay.
I agree.
Right. But if you're a student of history, when you go back and look at those civil rights organizations, you have SNCC, you have the Black Panther Party, you have SCLC,
Yeah, I forgot about those.
you have the student I said SNCC, you have the NAACP, and there's one, I want to say CORE, I believe CORE was the fifth one. All of those people had their own agendas. They didn't agree with how things were taking place in the 60s, but what did they decide to do? Now, we can certainly sit back and debate the results 20 years later, which I'll gladly do that, but at least they got the ball moving forward by coming under one umbrella and saying, hey, we all black up in this thing. Let's move this thing forward together.
And even then, you still had different mythologies.
You sure did.
You had Malcolm's, and then you had Martin, right?
Exactly.
And so, back in the day, people would have been upset with Malcolm because Malcolm called them Uncle Tom. I mean, because that's what he felt, right?
But before Malcolm was killed, him and Martin King,
they did come together.
They came together.
But I think that's what he initially led to them both being assassinated. But for me, what's problematic here is all the issues we discussed, a majority of those issues could be dealt with, in my opinion, rather swiftly, right? That is, if we had a united front.
I agree.
Because I say this now, and I will always say this: there has to be repercussions for speaking out against what we ride with. You free to speak out. Just understand, like people say, you got a First Amendment right, but you also got a First Amendment ass when you come. So understand that those two go hand in hand.
It's kind of like Harry Potter had to face the Counselor of Hogwarts.
I'm not a Harry Potter fan, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry.
That's just you.
I'm sorry. I geeked out for a moment. Go right ahead.
Republicans love Harry Potter from what I hear.
No, they don't.
They're big Harry Potter.
Because they think it's about witchcraft.
And they're all about witchcraft.
And
What do you
it's
mean?
against the devil.
Republicans are about witchcraft.
Yeah, they are the devil.
Mama says that.
So, but the point you're making is clear. But again, how do we get to that point?
How do we get to what point?
How do we get to this unity thing? How do we?
Well, first we have to beat the mess out of somebody. Just let them know. You cross that line, you can't come back.
I think that too.
So if you had to beat the mess out of somebody here in Arkansas, Little Rock, who would it be?
It's just too many people in the name.
Who would it be?
It's too many people in the name.
Come on, give me
It's
one.
too many people in the name, man. It's way too many in the name. I mean, man, the list is so long. If I started now, we have to take the rest of the month for me to finish.
Let's start with more.
Bruce, I don't know. My. How am I gonna say this? My judgment of Bruce is.
Was a reconciliation possible?
Now, I think my judgment of Bruce, man, is hard. The reason I say that is because Bruce is in a position where, you know what, I can't even say that, man. Not in good conscience, because all the stuff that he says rolls back to my head. So I remember once he did an article, and he was talking about him being a city manager. And they said, you're a black man that's a city manager. And Bruce says, no, I need to correct you. I'm a city manager who happens to be black. Huh?
That should have been a red flag. When we talk about red flags, mental illness.
Okay, so you know, I can't start naming people because, like I said, if I can't name them all, I just can't name one.
All right.
I mean, man, he said in Arkansas. I mean, that's,
All right, so let's do something national. See, he don't want to name anyone in Arkansas because they golfing buddies.
Oh,
They golfing and fishing buddies.
Write it down on paper. I'll say it out loud.
Yeah,
I ain't scared. I ain't got nothing to lose.
There you
I ain't
go.
running for office. I ain't got no money.
You got some paper over there? I got a pencil right
y'all
here.
calling me a sellout. I can't believe y'all doing
I got a Louisville Slugger in my trunk.
Y'all calling me a
We can go
sellout.
out in the street right now.
I got a pencil right here.
Y'all calling me brother
Just
sellout.
write it down. Write it down on the little piece of paper there,
I
brother.
can't believe
You don't even have to email it to me, so we won't have a digital footprint. Just write it down, and then we'll tear the piece of paper up.
If you want some distance, you write it down now. I'll say it on my podcast. I'll take the hits.
Man, y'all wrong.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Hey,
man.
we're friends like y'all don't need
Hey, that's what I'm saying, man. You know,
We here for you, bro. We only here for
I
you.
can tell.
we love you, man.
I can tell, man.
But
I don't want you to get in
the
trouble.
love
so
is
we'll say-
mutual. I can't get in trouble. I'm a grown man. Ain't nothing nobody can do.
There you go. There you go.
Just so we clear.
So quickly, since we're talking about Bruce and what's happening at the council, anything of significance we need
No,
to
I
be
mean, they ain't got
concerned
nothing
about?
major on the list tonight. It's just gonna be, it sounds like it's gonna be pretty simple tonight. Yeah, kind of, no harm, no foul. I looked through the list, man.
And what night to the city council meetings?
Tuesday, every Tuesday. Tonight is at 6.
What time?
6 o'clock.
So there should be some folks there at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, it should be a ton of folks there tonight.
So we should have some listeners at the city council meeting tonight. What you saying?
Yeah. No need. I mean, hey, they finna spend $1 million on Canaan Star. I didn't see that one earlier. They
a
got
few faces in the crowd that
spend $1.5 million on Canaan.
split a little bit.
Yeah.
They spent $1.5 million on what?
They're getting ready to do They're getting ready to do Canaan to Autumn Road. They're doing that Canaan to Autumn Road expansion.
Oh well, that's long
Well,
overdue.
Canaan to both. So they're gonna spend $1 million. They're getting ready to approve the $1.5 million they're gonna do to get that done.
But it's already halfway done. They just now approving it.
No, I think what they're doing, they're trying to. What is that?
That's my phone. Someone called.
Oh,
That,
okay. Yeah,
It sounds like a 3D
printer.
Building a house.
Yeah, I mean, but I think what they're doing is they're probably talking about phase 2 on this.
Well, that's long overdue. In fact, they just don't need to do it to Bowman. They need to do it all the way down to Chenal. That's just ridiculous because it's a danger. Hell, it's a danger right now driving down that street.
They're finna spend $800,000 for handicap accessible improvements at the zoo. That's a waste.
Oh, see, that's mean, Robert. You don't want handicapped people going to the zoo?
Nah, I think you should go to the zoo, but
I mean, what you
making it accessible? You had this.
Don't they deserve to be?
Now you're making it accessible.
Okay, but they've been discriminated against for all this time. Don't you think it's time for our zoo to allow Oh, Robert. Okay.
And that resolution to make appointments. This is gonna be a quick meeting now. All this is on the. This is on the consent.
I don't know. It's Russ Roykop and Ian and y'all on the agenda because y'all know y'all be down there raising cane.
I told you, man, I'm retired, so I won't be on anybody's agenda.
Are you going?
Yeah, I'm gonna go by, man. I'm gonna go by this. Hadn't been mine in a while, man. Every now and then,
Tell
I stick my hand.
Joan I said what's up.
You may give a hug and kiss me?
Yeah, just say, hey Joan, Dave Coleman said what's up. Just say,
You can get a picture with it.
throw your head up and say, suck!
Stop.
You gonna take a picture with it?
She'll probably scream and call the police on you. He screamed at me, that big black guy!
It's gonna be a quick meeting.
Just like a quick selfie with Joan Hancock with your arm around her shoulder.
Nah, I'm not gonna do that.
My boo. This is my boo right here.
Not gonna do that one, my friend.
That there, Joan Hancock.
I like Joan. Think she's a really nice lady, but I won't be hugging.
I read that quote that Brazil shared. She's a
Oh.
horrible person.
Breaking news. Police responding to shooting at Baton Rouge Walmart.
Wow.
That's breaking news.
But you know what? I think what's significant here is that we need to close all the Walmarts.
Actually, I think
I'm just saying, because if you ain't got a Walmart, they ain't got nowhere they can go shoot folks.
I was gonna say Louisiana, I believe, has a very loose gun law down there. I think you can
Well, Louisiana is a place you can drive through and get a margarita. I mean, really?
you sure can.
You can go through the drive through and get a
They
margarita.
have drive-up liquor stores. They really do. So does Florida.
Yeah, you can
In
drive through.
Ohio, they have drive-through liquor stores too. It's like a restaurant. You drive through. They got a little.
Make your own.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Where you can leave with an open drink.
Yeah.
Ohio's got the same thing up in there.
That reminds me. You talk about open laws, and I meant to bring this up earlier. So Texas is a open carry state. Okay. In fact, if I remember correctly, you don't have to have a license in Texas to carry a weapon.
And you didn't have to have one here, but I think they changed it.
Right. So here's my point. The argument for the gun advocates is saying a good guy with a gun will stomp a bad guy with a gun. What happened?
They drop the ball.
Well, more than likely, if I'm in Walmart, I ain't got my 380.
Yeah, there was a good guy with a gun. He happened to be a black guy. He heard the shooting. He is a Army veteran.
Okay.
Had his weapon. He was licensed to carry, and he is considered one of the heroes because he used his gun as a means to protect children as he was trying to get them away from the mall. And there's a huge interview about him on there. So there was a good guy with a gun.
He just didn't shoot the guy who was shooting.
He just didn't shoot the guy that was shooting.
I got you.
Too bad. But then they'd have killed him.
Well,
but,
if he had shot him, yeah. They didn't probably charge him.
Right. So my point being is that there was Texas, and the argument that has been made by all of these Republicans is that if a good guy has a gun, especially when we saw that shooting at that school, and and by the way, that was a cop who was paid to be a good guy,
30 minutes,
and he took cover. So
for half an hour.
The argument that a good guy with a gun will stop a bad guy with a gun, no. The point being is that every talking point that they come up with has been debunked. Some of these people don't look. That guy had did you see that clip dude had? You one of those 100-round clips?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dude, I don't care what you say. They shouldn't look. I think the guy in Texas.
Like a drum right there.
Right.
Yeah.
The guy in Texas he wasn't even 21 years old. But he could go buy a gun.
Yeah.
but he couldn't buy a beer.
Maybe if he could buy a beer, he
My
would have
thoughts,
shot
if
up
you
the
ain't
Walmart.
21.
Right, if you make an excellent point. Maybe he would have, if he would have bought a cold one, smoked a fatty, he'd have just went to sleep.
You gonna shoot gun that bad? Sign for the military. Be a real man.
Yeah, that's a good question too. How many of these people have military training? I know some of them have been, but most of these guys do not.
Most of them are wannabes. It's like those other guys that travel around with guns, with the oath keepers or whatever, faith keepers.
I think they're the oath keepers.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think they're the oath keepers.
I mean, sometimes they do some good stuff, but sometimes they sketchy.
Yeah, a lot of times
They were in
sketchy.
Ferguson.
Yeah, a lot of times they're sketchy. But
They were in there's some in Conway, and they were threatening to get violence and Black Lives Matter protests down in Russellville, I think, Little Rock.
yeah, you know,
They're kind of.
I think what I would love to see at some point is I would love to go to I would love to go to a rally when we had one of those rallies. Take me a couple brothers, from the neighborhood. We just kind of go by, just kind of hang out with them for a little while, just kind of talk to them. I would really like to do that. That is really one of my.
I don't have the patience.
Go where?
Really you go to one of these white supremacist rallies. And just take a couple of brothers from the hood. We just go hang out. Just kind of get to know each other. I would really like to do that at some point.
I mean, sometimes it works. I don't have the patience to do it though, because I'm the type of person. If you say the wrong thing, one of us gonna be.
Well, I would just like to try.
Like I'm not naturally like super aggressive, but there's some things
I'm not
that
aggressive
when
at all.
people say certain things,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the appropriate response.
Why is Dave looking at me like that? What's up, dude?
I see where you're coming from. I get you.
I want to try to bridge the gap.
It's not like it's not. I don't think it's unreasonable. I think
It's not outside the realm.
They made a movie about that. You know that, right?
What was the movie?
Black Klansman. Well, they did. Why y'all laughing?
Okay.
I had to cover the mic.
You think I'm kidding, don't you? Do you think I'm kidding?
Okay, man. No.
I'm
I'm watching
serious.
Black Klansman. I don't see what.
I see where Robert's coming from, because it has, and sometimes not always, but sometimes it does work where people go out to these Trump rallies and they do actually like have like just straight up conversations with people, and then just
Natalia says she's with Cliff. She don't have patience.
in a lesser hostile manner. You
That
have
doesn't
these
work. That's
conversations
television.
and you kind of joke and interact with people, and sometimes they kind of come over to your side and they see where you're coming from. They realize, you know what, maybe.
All you have to do is take one glimpse at one of their daughters and it's on like popcorn.
Well, I would like to go
But
to.
you're not necessarily there. For
No,
that.
I would want to go to one of the rallies because I would take the guys from the hood. We would all go, and we would have
You packing?
conversation. Huh?
You packing?
I think it would probably be important to do so.
Yeah.
But we're not going to shoot the gun.
Oh.
We're just going to take it.
I think taking the gun might make it worse.
No, we're not going to shoot.
Because you know, like, oh, he had a gun, he pulled a gun.
You know, black dudes don't shoot white folks, so we're not going to shoot. We're just
No,
gonna
but
take
they
the
get
guns.
accused of it a lot.
Yeah, but we're just going to take the guns. But we probably won't take the guns.
George Steady, remember
So-
George Steady?
We won't need the guns.
So
we'll just go because we honestly I want to have a conversation. That's really what I want. Because you know every
There's a
time
huge disconnect.
Didn't Hosea Williams try that with David Duke?
I don't know.
I believe he did.
I don't think it turned out well.
In fact, I believe that has been attempted over the years.
Well, let me tell you what the difference is.
It does work though. Sometimes it does work.
I don't.
I've seen it online.
I want
different
to
things.
believe it's going to work because let me tell you why.
I don't think
because
it happens a lot.
No,
It's effective, but sometimes it can be.
I believe.
Very effective.
Every time I see this, every time I see these guys, they're always attacking people who are retreating. Always. They're always attacking people who are retreating. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to retreat, but I just want to have a conversation with them that makes sense, right? I want to understand why they feel the way they feel about me, and I want to tell them how I feel about them. Yeah, this is what I feel. I love you, man. You my homie. I'm cool with you. I ain't got no beef with you, bro. Why you got beef with me?
Y'all worship the same Jesus and everything.
We the same.
I don't know about all that.
We in the same tax bracket, paying the same taxes,
And it'll be cool
living in the same zip code.
until one of your homeboys look at one of their daughters.
What happens then? I'm just trying to have a conversation. If something else pop off, then they got nothing to do with it.
Okay.
I'm just going to try to help these guys. If something happens, I'm just going to try to help the guys do what they need.
I'll see where I was coming from.
Yeah, well, I tell you what. Y'all go ahead and go in the camp, and I'll stand outside the
No,
camp
I'm
as
talking,
you
about I'm talking
reinforce.
about at the you know when they're at
Tailgating.
no, you know when they're at the state capitol or that's somewhere.
Well, you can go right up there now. Ace is up there.
Jesus, stop.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on. Which reminds me, why hasn't you know, it's kind of like the Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, who signed the proclamation for Robert E. Lee Day, and said the law commands me to sign this proclamation. Really?
I'm not going to talk about this because every time I do, people get mad at me. So I'm not going to say.
Why? Get mad at what? Why are they? Oh, who done hurt your feelings?
Nobody.
What?
Throw it in the trash.
Come on, Robert. Come on.
Robert E. Lee.
What they say? What they say?
I'm gonna go back to what I always say.
Oh.
Black folks don't want to be. Black folks don't mind being treated like a nigga. They just don't want to be called one. And I'm done. That's it.
See.
That's the truth.
You can't take your ball and go home like
I
that.
just did. I'm going home. You hear me bouncing down.
Who said something bad to Robert on
You hear
Facebook?
me bouncing down the street.
Man. Y'all better leave my friend
Do what
alone.
y'all want to do.
Y'all better leave my friend alone.
Y'all get mad at me. Y'all get mad at me.
I think it's
Hey,
People mistreat us, and y'all get mad at me when I call them out on it.
here's Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz said that school shootings take place because we've removed God from the public square.
Yep, that's it exactly. I don't know why we didn't figure that out early.
Texas is 93% Christian and has a fatal school shooting every year. Japan is 2% Christian
What's Ted Cruz's?
and never has had a school shooting.
I'm finna tweet Ted Cruz and say, "Hey Ted, maybe they should put a big cross on the top of every school and set it on fire."
Latanya said Robert has a point. What do you mean Robert has a point?
Yeah, what you mean?
Don't start enabling him.
That's what's up, sis. Hello, me, sis.
Don't start enabling him. He doesn't have no point.
Sis
you
got
talking
to
about,
grow
Willis?
back.
Know what y'all
Sis
talking
gotta grow
about?
back. That's what's up.
Yeah,
Who
well,
was that, Ted Cruz? I'm trying to find Ted Cruz
Yeah.
so I can ask
At
the
Cookie
question.
Cruz.
that was Ted Cruz.
What's that dude from the Monsters? The grandpa?
Eddie Munster, Gomez.
That's what he, Craig Cruz.
Yeah, Eddie Munster. That's what
He
they
looks
used
like
to
the
call him.
grandpa from the Monsters.
But this is. Hey, Samuel L. Jackson was taunted by fans because they were going to boycott one of his movies. Sammy comes back and said, "I've already cashed that check."
Which movie was kind of boycott?
See, we need more Samuel L. Jacksons. Okay, what movie? They don't realize. Oh, Captain Marvel.
Oh.
They were trying to. He said, "I've already cashed," and he's right. How you gonna put? They don't realize that those actors get paid up front.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
You know. So,
All the rest of them
that's hilarious. But again, how do you? Let's see. Are video games and mental illness causing America's mass shooting? No, research shows. I already know that. So, again, we have to. At the end of the day, you just got to start understanding, and I think Robin makes an excellent point, that at some point we're going to have to come together. At some point, black people are going to have to start fending for themselves.
And call me when you do it.
You know, well,
Because I won't see it.
well, I probably won't see it either, unfortunately. Look, when we talk about mental illness, I mean, I think white folks are mentally ill because, again, it goes back to how could you take a race of people and subjugate them for 400 years and then think that you don't owe them anything? That's a mental illness. So how could you take a people from their own land, subjugate them, rape, kill, murder, harass, whatever you can for 400 years, then let them go and harass them for another 100 years, and it continues. So that's got to be a mental illness from itself. But on the other hand, black people have got to be mentally ill, because black people are the only people on this planet that boycott its own people. That's a mental illness.
So you're talking about the.
You see?
Have you talked about the Harriet movie yet?
Well, I talked about it briefly earlier, but again, it's about if we are going to solve this problem, your mental illness is blocking you from shopping with black people. Your mental illness is blocking you from supporting black causes. Your mental illness is causing you to move out of the black community and move into the white neighborhoods and brag about the fact that you're the only nigga in that neighborhood, even though they don't want you in their neighborhood. And then you'll turn around and complain about gentrification of the neighborhood you abandoned.
Or supporting Roselle's protests.
That's mental illness, brothers and sisters. So if we want to talk about mental illness, yeah, we all are mentally ill. And at some point, we've got to start understanding that if we don't solve this problem, then that old saying, hey, we can live together as brothers or we can perish as fools. And right now, all of this seems so much foolishness, it's ridiculous.
You know who's doing a really good job of this is New Era. They've been doing a really good job in their areas. Literally bringing entire communities together in the areas where they have chapters. And where they do their work, they've been doing some really amazing stuff as far as keeping down bonds, improving education and graduation rates, and making the community safer.
I'm just glad to be in the same. I'm just glad to be in the same space.
It's okay. You're welcome anytime, brother.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
and it's also the meme that I sent you guys earlier. So hey.
Man, y'all got issues.
I know. Yeah, I guess you can kind of tie that into today, like, you know, because so often we're always told to, like, kind of, you know, be on guard with each other and, you know, kind of be scared of each other somewhat to some degree,
right,
you know, out on the streets and stuff like that. But, you know, really, I think as black men, we should be more supportive of each other and not be so scared to talk to each other and encourage each other and say positive things and just, you know, even if it ain't gonna benefit you, it ain't gonna hurt you to support somebody or say some nice words, you know, like, hey man, let's see what you're doing, congratulations. You know, I try to make a habit of that on Facebook with some of the guys that I'm not physically living near. But
well, Cliff, I didn't respond because I thought you were trying to flirt with me or something, and I was.
No. It was just somebody.
I just wanted to let you know
Yeah, whatever.
You ain't down.
Homie, don't play that.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
You do have that shine to you today, Dave.
No.
That bald head is kind of nice.
Yeah, let me do it.
That bald head is kind of nice.
No. Homie, don't play
that.
Hey, Dave. Don't be scared.
That is Robert Well.
Hey, Dave.
Listen to him.
Hey, Dave.
Listen.
How you doing, Dave?
Listen and be aware.
Hey, Dave.
But no, seriously. You know, I try to make it an attempt to be more open-minded and more aware of that.
What have you been open-minded about?
You know, just supporting other people, man.
Wow.
Because
who supports you? Oh, you talking about? Oh, okay, I got you. I was finna say, man, you finna get my phone doing. I ain't finna say.
What you say?
Nah, man, why you ain't trying to get me to say something?
What you say,
no,
man? You cannot let those people intimidate you out of your opinion. You know, because it ain't probably nobody but Tracy Ann anyway. What they say. Y'all quit picking on Robert. Leave him alone.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
He can't help it if he doesn't have views like y'all.
Hey, I know it ain't Tracy Ann. Tracy Ann, you know, Tracy Ann be sending her stuff in the group email. Tracy be like, y'all need to read this.
Yeah, I know.
Y'all just stupid. Read this.
I'm tired of y'all. Don't you say that again.
Booyaka! Booyaka!
Bring her on the show.
855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with it if you want to join the show today. I'm kind of going down my.
All I'm saying is it doesn't hurt to support somebody.
Nah, give him a little love. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like I made the meme. Well, I didn't make the meme, but I passed.
With each other,
right, I passed the meme. You know, back in the day when we walked down the street, it didn't matter who the brother was, what he looked like. You made eye contact and you gave him the.
Gave the nod.
You gave him the.
Yes.
Well, now when you give a brother a nod, you know, you walk around, you look around, you're like, man, no brother's in here. You're like, all right, you know, something pop up, you know, I got you, right?
So, but it used to be that way. But I posted a meme a couple of days ago about when you see a young black boy, you know, call him an entrepreneur, an engineer, an architect, a doctor, a surgeon. Don't automatically assume And I remember them.
You just can't call them NBA players.
Right, because I remember them doing this to my son when I first came back to Little Rock with my son, and of course, you know, Little Rock Central football legend, all that stuff. First thing they asked him, "Hey, your dad was a great football player. You gonna be a football player?" You got that, dude. I had to throw that. You know, had to throw that. But the
we are sitting amongst them.
That's right. You know, how can you soar with turkeys how can you soar with eagles when you work with turkeys? Y'all are.
That's what I say to myself every day.
Y'all are an eagle. Y'all are in eagle air right now. But the point being is that many of them began to talk to him and ask him, "You can be a good footballer. Your dad was this. Your dad was this. Your dad was this." And what they didn't understand or realize that I had told my son I don't want him to play football.
Yeah, people try.
Why?
People try to do that to me in school too.
You know, because there are a number of issues. One of them is eight titanium screws in my neck. Actually, those are 8 issues. That's why. The other one is, and look, if you're going to play a sport right now, football is the last thing you want to be playing. If you're going to play a sport, you need to be playing basketball or baseball. You know why? Because if you get a $150 million contract, you're getting $150 million.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
They've got guaranteed contracts. And it's less punishment on your body. Same with the NBA. If you get a $100 million contract, you're getting all your duckies. Even if they trade you, you're getting all your duckies. As a matter of fact, who is the baseball player that's still getting paid? I gotta look that up. Is it Bobby Bonilla? That he gets paid $1 million every year.
That is, I think it's Bobby Bonilla. Look it up.
Let me look it up real fast. Y'all play among yourselves.
What you think?
Yeah, he's such an inspirational figure.
Yeah.
He's so inspirational. I don't know what to say.
That means y'all have to talk while I'm looking this up.
Well, is that what you wanted us to do?
I watched Hobbs and Shaw yesterday. It was a very excellent movie.
Hobbs and Shaw? What is that?
It's a Fast and Furious spinoff of The Rock and Jason Statham. There are a couple of...
So they got rid of Vin Diesel?
It's a long story. Basically, it's just a side movie away from the regular rest of the cast. It's like them on their own little adventure. But they're going to go back to the regular crew here in the future. I think number 10 is the last movie. I think they just put out number 9 last year.
Okay.
So, but there's a lot of infighting with the cast right now. It's a whole mess. It'd probably be like another 30 minutes just trying to explain that.
Please don't.
Basically, The Rock. Basically, the way it's been working the last 3-4 years, I think The Rock has been fighting with Vin Diesel and Tyrese about the movies ever since he's been brought in because he didn't agree with their work ethic, and then Tyrese was mad because he wanted to get paid and hurry up and do the other Fast and Furious movie instead of The Rock going off and doing his own little side movie from the franchise. And so there's a lot of feuding in that and things like that. So it's a very interesting situation. But the movie itself was very excellent. I liked it. I watched it. It had a lot of really good. Had some really good fight scenes. Had some comedy. There's like 3 special appearances in there that weren't advertised at all. That I was really surprised about. It was hilarious. But also added to make the movie better. And then
You done yet, bro?
There's a bunch of Samoans in the movie as well. So
Are you Samoan?
I'm not Samoan, but I have met some before, and I've never met a small Samoan. And one time, a guy tried to drag me into a fight with someone.
I don't care.
I know.
Listen, I know that's my joke.
So this white guy was trying to fight these 3 Samoans in a hallway of that, and there was 3. They're Samoans. I've never seen a Samoan. And he tried to bring me into the fight, like, hey man, don't you agree with whatever?
Are you stereotyping Samoans?
I am at this moment.
Yeah. By the way, every July 1st, Bobby Bonilla gets $1.1 million from the New York Mets. That's because the New York Mets paid their retired slugger on that date. It's an arrangement that began in 2011. Now get this, and it runs through 2035. And they've dubbed July 1st Bobby Bonilla Day.
Is he in family?
Why does it? So did he set that up? Was that
That's the way
contract?
the contract was set up. But it goes to my point is that your months if I remember correctly, they were trying to offload his salary to get other players, and he negotiated that because he had made quite a bit of money in the first place, and he negotiated that this is what you will pay me, every year. And that's what they do. And that goes to 2035. So my point being is that if you're going to have your child to be out here making money for Massa in the arena of entertainment, then you need to make sure that baseball and basketball is on their agenda. All right? I'm just saying. Because if not, you'll be sitting here like most of us who played football with broken up bodies. I didn't sleep well last night because my knee and my hip was hurting. Football injury. By the way, that's not covered by insurance, ladies and gentlemen.
So he deferred almost $25 million.
Exactly.
So I mean, so what was that? Was that like part of his contract? He said, "Hey, I don't want you to pay it all to me now."
Well, let me just read this to you. The Mets released Bobby Bonilla, once one of Major League Baseball's highest paid players in '99. Rather than paying him the $5.9 million the team owed him in 2000, they agreed to pay him later and attach an 8% annual interest to the sum according to the contract details. Payment started in 2011, and to date, Bonilla has collected $8.3 million. By the time the final payment is made in 18 years, Bonilla will have parlayed an initial $5.9 million into a total of $29.8 million.
It's a good move.
So
that's a great investment.
So if he dies, by the way, it goes to his estate, his children.
Right.
So again, that $5.8 million that they initially owed him, when he retired, he still gets that money.
Yeah.
So at the time, the Mets couldn't afford the money. So they said, hey, we'll just defer it. Okay?
If you defer it, I want interest on it.
Of course you're going to get interest. But the point being is that if your children are playing baseball or basketball, you're getting that money. So and a lot of people don't understand this, when you hear a football player get $80 million, he got an $80 million contract.
Yeah.
You know what
all of that is guaranteed.
You know what to listen for, right?
Yeah. How much is guaranteed?
No.
What?
The signing bonus.
But that's the guarantee part.
Right. Okay. That's what they're gonna get is the signing bonus. Tom Brady is the only player, and I heard somebody say this morning, I believe, on Dan Patrick, and I was stunned. Tom Brady is the only player who has actually lived out the ends of his contract on the same team.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Because what typically happens in pro sports, football, is that the same that they're trying to do with Zeke, and we don't mean to turn this into a sports show, but you got to understand numbers and money. I support Zeke Elliott because he's actually doing what the Pittsburgh running back did last year. He's fighting for a cause. It's not really about money. It's about running backs are paid differently from everybody else. And they are used up faster than everybody else. So by the time most players can get on a second contract, running backs don't get a second contract in most cases. Okay? So that's what this is really all about. It has nothing to do with Zeke he wants to be the highest paid, but this guy's leading the league in carries over the last 3 years. In 2 years, he will be quote unquote used up. And when he goes to seek his next contract, he'll be lucky to get $1 million a year. That's what this is all about. But anyway, I digress. So if your child is going to participate in sports, I would recommend that it's basketball and something else. But here's the other thing. I'd probably recommend you take your ass to school and get grades.
Yeah, I'd rather you be an agent than a professional athlete.
Right. We need
You can't be an
agents.
agent forever. You can't be an
Right.
athlete for about 10 years.
We need agents. We don't need more athletes. We got plenty of those. We need architects. We need engineers. We need lawyers. You know, because see, as soon as we started getting more of those people in those positions,
Lawyers.
Utilities.
then those single people that are in those positions, Ben Carson, will not be so quick to sell us out. I'm just saying. See, many of them in those positions, they're the only one. So they want to maintain their oneness, their regalness. But once you get more people in those positions, then that okie doke Uncle Tom cooning Negro, he doesn't own that position now. Because there are other people that look like him in that position. You get it? So maybe the white boss likes rap music, and he likes classical. I'm just saying.
Oh, God, bunch of racist.
I can't be racist. I'm black.
I've been called worse.
What did I miss earlier? I gotta start
I'm
getting you a
just saying.
sign up. I can't miss the show.
Which list of words should I run through real quick?
Hey, can I get a gummy back? I mean, what did I miss? I missed something. What did I miss? Because y'all feeling really good today. What did I miss?
I'm just happy to be back.
Was it Rizal? Was it Rizal?
I just told you I was depressed today.
Oh, is that why y'all acting like that?
No, I'm just happy to be back. Literally, civilization.
Think I'm gonna go.
I've been out there with these rednecks for so long.
I think I'm gonna go home and break out my Call of Duty and shit and blow up something.
That's all you're gonna do? You're not going to Walmart?
Yeah, I'll go to Walmart and buy Call of Duty and then go home and blow up
You're
something.
gonna support the Waltons. Are they gonna give money to the school?
See, no.
Wally World, Wally
I thought we boycotted Walmart.
I can't go to Walmart. I'm sorry. I'll just play an old version of Call of Duty.
You can just go to Kmart.
What Kmart?
Ain't no Kmart no more.
That's what I'm saying.
Roll up in Target.
Pay $500 for a video game when they $29.95 everywhere else.
No, man. You get the new systems. Plus, they come up with a new Xbox, the Xbox 2.
No, sorry. I'm tired of you stealing my money.
Yeah, I paid $600 for my last one.
I'm over that now. I stopped at place when they came out with the PS4. I was done with them. Because I'm already paying $60 a year to play your little funky game. And now every 3 years you come up with a new platform. I'm done being your sucker.
Actually, you know what? They have a good reason for coming out with a new console.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you what it is.
Just like they have a good reason to come out with new cars.
It's a legit reason why they had to come out with a new console.
Can you do it in 7 seconds?
They're dropping an 8K TV. It's about to pop out, and the graphics cannot be contained within the current consoles. That's why they're also going up to 5G on the internet.
Did you know that they're coming up with new chickens that have 5 wings?
You know what? Ain't no different than damn buffalo wing. Come on, man. Stop.
I'm serious about 8K TVs, though. That's a real thing. They're coming out. They already have them out now. They're prototypes. But they won't be available probably till like next year.
I don't even know what to say yet right now.
Okay.
I don't even know what to say.
8K TV. You know what that's like?
Say goodbye, Cliff.
What is it?
That's like throwing a rocket Trump in like real time. Like it's almost like you get the same feeling of gratification. Like my quote for today is where the mind goes, the body follows.
That's my head right there. That's my head. Cliff, that was Cliff there. Okay, I like that.
I don't think I throw a rock at my TV.
With the mind,
All right, we gotta go. We gotta go. We got an appointment. I got an appointment at 2:30. So see y'all later.
Why you look at me like that, man? I know what to do.
What do it? Till you satisfied, whatever it is.
Hey, y'all, spend money on community. If you don't, nobody else will, please.
Can't get no.
Did you give a quote, Cliff?
Yeah. You know why you can't see Black Jesus? Because he's too fly.
What is wrong with y'all to say, man?
I'm done.
Y'all sick, man. What is wrong with y'all, man? What y'all do before I got here, man? What did I miss?
A whole lot, man.
Y'all had
late.
Y'all have a good day, man. Boy, you know y'all
smoking all before I got here, man. Y'all wrong.
I can't smoke in my new job.